Welcome to the Weight Loss Plateaus Assessment and Troubleshooting video. This is a recording of what you would usually go over in a group session. Now, my name is Bianca Cordeiro. I am a registered dietitian. I mainly see clients in BC and the Maritimes, with the exception of PEI in the territories, and I do have some clients in Ontario as well. So just a little bit of an agenda for basically what you can expect in this video. We'll go over what weight loss plateaus are, why they happen, the root causes, so basically determining what those root causes are for yourself, troubleshooting through plateaus. We'll talk a little bit about how long you can expect them to last, and whether or not it's actually worthwhile intervening on them specifically. And then what I'll do is I'll be sharing with you some emails, so that if you have any questions, you can direct your email to those addresses that I'll be showing you within the last few slides. So, I do want to pose this question to you. You can feel free to either grab a pen and paper and jot down the answer to this, or you can pause and just reflect on this. But have you ever experienced a weight loss plateau before? So think back on either previous weight loss attempts or perhaps even your current one, and think through if there's been a time where you've had like a stall in your weight loss progress. So let's talk a little bit about what weight loss plateaus are. You probably have a really good idea of what they actually are, but let's just define them. So according to Mayo Clinic, a weight loss plateau is when your weight stops changing. So usually it happens during a weight loss attempt, and it's usually when you start to see a stall in your progress. And that usually is something that most people will go through at least once in their weight loss journey. But you might be wondering why that is the case. So why do weight loss plateaus occur? So I just want you to, again, either jot this down or pause and reflect on this question. What are some of the reasons that you might have heard of that lead to weight loss plateaus? So let's talk a little bit more about why we get weight loss plateaus. There are a couple of theories for why we do get them. There are three major reasons. There's or types, technically. There's a true plateau, a faux plateau, and basically best weight. So in that true plateau category, there are two major theories for the causes. So the first one is that set point theory. And then the idea is that plateaus can be due to alterations in hormonal response, like changes in leptin and thyroid hormone, which again, we call the set point theory. It is the idea that your body works hard to stay at a particular weight, and when you stray too far from it, your body will work hard to bring you back to that weight. So set point theory does theorize that your set point can change throughout a lifespan. So basically, a change in the weight that your body the weight that your body wants to stay at. And this theory does argue that our body will always find a way to get back to that point, meaning that there is a weight where we cannot sustainably go under. And we'll kind of talk a little bit about best weight, which kind of has a similar idea as well. But But the second theory is settling theory. And they really believe this theory is one of the ones that most literature shows is quite likely, because there's a lot of things that impact your likelihood to be at a plateau, not just hormonal response. So let's talk a little bit about that. So for settling theory, it theorizes that a plateau is due to a combination of biological responses of hormones and metabolism to behaviors that we settle in due to our genetic predispositions and also external factors. So essentially, it's the idea that if your body wants it to be a certain way, like wants you to be a certain weight, then given certain external factors, that is the weight that you'll settle into. So this is where, again, your body is trying to maintain the weight through only allowing you to use as much energy as you take in. So only allowing as much energy output as there is input. The amount of energy input is considered to be environmentally, psychologically, and genetically driven, where genetic factors influence our behaviors. So we talk a little bit more about behaviors in this theory than with the set point theory. It's a little bit more well-encompassing. So our output is more so the biological and behavior response to our energy consumption. So essentially how our body deals with that energy. So that can impact what we're able to do. So whether we have the energy to be active, it can also impact how much our body actually even burns at rest even. So this theory does argue that if we settle into new behaviors, though, that we are able to get past plateaus. So not that no matter what, hormones are going to win, but that we can also get past a plateau, so long as we have a change in lifestyle that is sustainable to us. That is kind of the major difference between set point theory and settling theory. So then we have faux plateaus. Essentially, they are solely a change in lifestyle. They can sometimes be hard to pinpoint. So sometimes it can feel like you're having what we call a true plateau, when in fact you're having a faux plateau. Basically, your weight is influenced by so many different factors. It's hard to sometimes put your finger on what could be causing you to be at a stall in weight loss. So even simply in sessions when we're doing one-on-ones, where we might get you to recall changes in your lifestyle decisions can sometimes not be exactly what you perceive them to be. So sometimes basically when we recall things like activity level, portion sizes, and even sometimes food choices, they can be heavily skewed by things like energy level, stress, emotions, appetite level, and so much more, so that it can even make you feel like you might have made better decisions than you might have actually made. And so that could mean even that what you think is your usual portion is actually even larger. And when we do test that with measuring, some people like to kind of test their portion size by measuring with cups or tablespoons or even scales. We can kind of see that there's a shift that occurs when you're actually experiencing a full plateau. So there's just so many things that can basically be changed when you are experiencing that full plateau. So there's a lot of factors that go into play. Then there's best weight, which is basically your personal healthiest weight. So this theory for why you might be at a plateau is the idea that you might already be at your healthiest and happiest weight. So the weight you're going to be healthy at and happy at. And it essentially is the weight that allows you to enjoy your lifestyle while still promoting health. So when it comes to determining the root causes, we want to really figure out, is it biological? Like, is it, your genetics and biology, or is it lifestyle? Biological definitely is more along the lines of like a true plateau, and faux plateaus are more lifestyle related. So let's talk about the signs and symptoms of a true plateau. So if you're experiencing a true plateau or like more of a biological based plateau, the signs and symptoms may include like rapid weight loss prior to the plateau. So leading up to experiencing the plateau, did you go through a period of time where you lost weight very, very rapidly? And is your body basically trying to catch up with this? There's also, potentially if you've even had just significant weight loss, again, your body's kind of readjusting to this new weight. If you've lost, a significant amount of like, even like 5% of your weight. But in general, if you've lost weight at a faster rate, like I said, or a larger amount, you will likely experience some physical symptoms as well. So feeling unusually tired. So regardless of sleep, regardless of the like ensuring that you're getting meals at a time on a timely basis, you might still feel really tired. And then there's also usually a resurgence in hunger level, and it's usually again more unusual. So you can't pinpoint why it's happening. It's not like you've had an increase in stress, not like you've had you've been more active. It's usually just unexplainable increase in your hunger levels. So let's talk about why those happen. So the increase in hunger and even cravings is often due to more of the hormonal aspect of things. So with lower leptin, you're going to get an increase in your hunger. So not necessarily an increase in hunger hormones, and more so an increase in hunger due to your hormones. And also, you typically will have decreases with that decrease in metabolic rate that our body often does in order to kind of, again, catch up to how much weight you've lost. That usually occurs due to nervous system changes, a decrease in basically nervous system processes, an increase in basically energy metabolism efficiency. So your body gets really good at burning as little energy to do the same type of task. There's also often a decrease in muscle energy needs that happens when your metabolic rate goes through that adaptation. So again, it's getting really efficient at what it wants to do. So your muscles don't even need as much energy anymore. And then there's also a decrease in metabolic hormones that influence weight as well, like thyroid hormone, that can lead to this plateau and caused by, decreases in your metabolic rate. So for faux plateaus, the causes are, again, more lifestyle. So it could be new or increased stress that could have led to this. Social events involving like excessive food or alcohol intake could have led to a plateau. So think about like around the holidays where people are getting together more and having events surrounding more food. Changes to your food and drink environment or availability. You have, say, a sudden change in your job, and perhaps you're unable to keep your meals with you that you would normally prep, and now you're relying on, say, fast food on the road. There's also could be related to declines in mental health. So, how are you doing mentally? If you've had declines in like how you're feeling recently, and just in general, like any mental health diagnoses that you might have, that can also lead to other like making decisions that can get you at a faux plateau or that stall in weight loss. There's also all or nothing mentality, the idea that you have to essentially go all out, basically follow your strict schedule, follow what you feel you're supposed to do. But when if things get sidetracked, then there's no flexibility in it. It's just a drop in all of those beneficial behaviors that you have established. Sickness can also impact your ability to get to lose weight. Typically, we're not as active when we're sick, so we can see a stall in weight loss. There's also fluid shifts sometimes that can occur when you're sick as well. Sometimes we're not staying as hydrated. There's so many different things that can impact um, your ability to lose weight when you're sick. And then there's also just general changes in routine. So, like, have you changed a job recently? Have you been traveling? Perhaps you've had a recent move. Maybe you've had new responsibilities, like you've taken on a new job or you're a new parent. Perhaps maybe you're taking care of, if you have grandchildren, taking care of grandchildren, and it's kind of thrown you off your routine. And that can also lead to a stall in progress sometimes. So, what are the effects though? So, the effects of faux plateaus are just as valid as like your true plateaus. We're not trying to invalidate one or the other. Faux plateaus are still stalls in weight loss progress, and they're still frustrating. But faux plateaus can lead to an increase in high calorie foods, an increase in how often you might be eating, with no reductions in volume at meals or snacks, lead to things like grazing, those cravings, increase in volume at meals and snacks in general can happen. You might just eat more in general in one sitting. Can often lead to a decrease in physical activity, an increase in sedentary time. Essentially, you might be sitting more. And also a decrease in exercise intensity, frequency, or even duration, which is all going to impact how much energy you burn in a day, essentially, which can lead to a stall in that weight loss progress. So it's kind of a chicken and the egg sort of situation, figuring out whether or not you're experiencing a true plateau or if you're experiencing a faux plateau. So um, one thing to kind of look out for is what came first. So it can be helpful to kind of brainstorm through this. We'll kind of walk you through how that can be done. But before that, I'm going to pose the question back to you. So if you could get out a pen and paper and note down your answer to this question, or you could pause and kind of, again, sort of like reflect again. But what are some of the ways that you can think of that might help you identify causes of faux plateaus, specifically, or false plateaus? Just note down if there are any specific methods that you can use, things that you can look at, things that you can do to identify those false plateaus from those true plateaus. Becomes important for the troubleshooting process, essentially. So let's talk about it now. Determining the root cause really takes quite a bit of, like I said, reflection. But we want to, essentially what we want to do is we want to gather as much data as we have had previous to the actual stall and weight loss progress. And that can help us spot the difference. So things like activity monitor data, like if you have it stored on your phone, taking a look at that, taking a look at your schedule to kind of reflect on like what you had, perhaps on your schedule that could have impacted your ability to continue to lose weight. Take a look at your weight history and in relation to that. Did you see perhaps around the time that you started going to more events, going to more parties? Did you see a shift to having more difficulty with maintaining that weight loss? Lifestyle journaling can be king in this sort of situation because it can also identify emotions, stressors, environmental changes that you might have had. And also, if you have that coupled together with a food journal to like fully see the impacts, like on a stressful day, how exactly was I eating? What were my portion sizes like? What were my cravings like? It can be helpful to take both that lifestyle journal and food journal essentially and compare the two, see if anything coincides. And then there's also side effect tracking as well. It can help you figure out if perhaps at a time there was a change in your side effects and maybe that led to an increase in like food intake or a decrease in physical activity. And then there's also those good old trusty dietitian sessions. So your dietitian can be a very, very helpful tool in helping you kind of comb through things, previous and current nutrition habits in order to figure out what the difference is and what might be happening. So again, I'm asking all of the questions today, but if you want to note this down again, take a piece of paper and pen, jot down your reasoning, your answer to these questions. You can feel free to do that, or again, you could pause, reflect a little if you'd like to do that reflection process in your head instead. But I want to ask you, have you ever experienced a faux plateau? So a plateau that was lifestyle related. Was there anything that you did to get past it? And if you're currently experiencing it, is there something that you're considering to do or considering doing to get past your faux plateau right now? All right. So let's talk about troubleshooting through faux plateaus or false weight loss plateaus. So intervening on your lifestyle change becomes really important. So not only pinpointing it, but making some positive changes to kind of work through that lifestyle change can be helpful. I'm saying change a lot. I hope you don't mind, but it can be very helpful. So try to add in perhaps some previously helpful behaviors. What were some things that you were perhaps doing before that worked really well to prevent those the effects of your lifestyle change, essentially? Was there something that you've done again in the past, or that you might want to that you might want to reconsider doing? Try to reduce less helpful behaviors with adding more helpful ones in. So, for example, if you're, you know, eating more refined foods, perhaps consider eating higher fiber, higher protein snacks more often, instead of like the refined foods from like seasonal treats, say during the holidays, for example. It also is helpful to identify any barriers and also enablers to making those changes. So, what might get in the way of being successful when making that positive behavior change? And what might be helpful for establishing that behavior again? And again, what has been helpful in the past. For example, if you find it's helpful to do your meal prep with someone else and you're finding that meal prep has helped in the past with making healthier choices, then perhaps maybe scheduling in a session where you meal prep again with somebody could be helpful enabler to that positive behavior of meal prepping. So now that we talked about faux plateaus, we're going to focus more on the true plateaus. So has there ever been a time where you couldn't pinpoint exactly why you were having a plateau? So again, you can take a pen and paper, note down your answers to this, or pause, reflect. Do you think that you might have experienced a true plateau before? When did it happen? What did you do when you were experiencing it, and what was the result? So let's talk about true weight loss plateaus. When it comes to experiencing the true weight loss plateaus and getting past them, there's you know two major approaches that we can take to try and get past them. There's one, we can try and go into a maintenance phase. Maintenance phases include eating enough food to maintain your progress rather than getting past your weight loss. So basically, accepting it as a point in the process that you're at a plateau. We're going to accept the plateau. We're going to maintain our weight for a little while, or maintain the weight for a little while before we really do anything else. But one thing to note is it does involve maintaining the behaviors that you have already established. So it's not about forgetting the improvements that you've already made. It's about continuing with those improvements that you've already made, but responding to perhaps that increase in hunger with getting just a little bit more food in there, so that you're not super ravenously hungry and getting like overeating at meals and leading to a complete relapse in all of those improvements that you've made. Now, the recovery phase is also an option, and essentially it is exactly what it sounds like. We're kind of recovering from the weight loss attempt. So this can mean a slight increase in your overall volume of food while working on perhaps rebuilding muscle that was lost. This is more common for when you've lost like a lot of muscle from losing weight too quickly, or having like a significant weight loss in general without having like any physical like resistance exercise or physical activity in there, where you might be at a higher risk of having lost muscle. Working on strengthening exercises in that recovery phase becomes really important because, again, we want to rebuild back up any muscle that was lost that could be leading to this stubborn stall in weight loss. We want to also increase our protein consumption in order to, again, help rebuild the muscle, so that, again, we are able to have an improvement in not only body composition, but in the improvements that we get in metabolic rate when it comes to having more muscle on, and also the improvements that we generally see in having more energy to basically do general activities or daily life activities that we typically start to see when we're active and we have enough muscle as well. Um, Something to also consider and perhaps contact your nurse practitioner about is a lower dose of weight loss medication if you're still feeling really full. So you can experience a weight loss plateau while still having the fullness effect that you get from the medication. And if you need that recovery phase because you've lost a lot of muscle, then we would want to be able to um, uh, basically make it so that you're able to eat enough in order to get that increase in protein consumption. All right. So with that recovery phase, generally this is recommended if you've had rapid weight loss occur. If you're experiencing like extreme fatigue, unexplained fatigue, this can lead to suggesting that you would benefit from a recovery phase. Again, when you're experiencing something with absolutely no explanation. So that's usually when we recommend it, specifically if you're experiencing the fatigue with no explanation. And if you have lost significant strength, that's also an indicator. That usually indicates that you've lost muscle mass as well. So you might wonder why sort of like going through these phases where we're kind of like either maintaining or recovering is actually helpful. So the maintenance or recovery phase can be helpful for like reducing the hormonal response that we get with weight loss that leads to plateaus. Improving your hunger levels in general is one of the reasons why we do this. Improving your metabolic rate. A lot of this is related to when you get that loss in muscle. We want to improve metabolic rate not only through improving your musculature, but also in general, if we're eating a little bit more, we're going to be burning a bit more energy because it actually takes energy to actually digest food as well. We also find that it's helpful for decreasing fatigue, again, restoring muscle and strength, and that's usually when we're physically active. So what else can these phases include? So what are the things that we're expecting to see in these phases? So in the recovery and maintenance phase, some things that you can expect are that we would recommend that you get adequate rest and hydration. We would consider perhaps if practicing more intuitive and mindful eating strategies can be helpful. So listening to your hunger cues, limiting distractions while eating, understanding and addressing hidden factors behind why you might be hungry, like fatigue, stress, emotions, boredom, environmental cues, or like social factors in general. So after the recovery phase or maintenance phase, readjustments you might want to readjust medications. Again, talking to the nurse practitioner or the pharmacist team can be helpful for this. We're figuring out what we do to kind of, maybe take the edge off of the hunger again. Small adjustments in dietary intake could include things like a decrease in calorie consumption again, an increase in non-starchy vegetables and or fruit, an increase in lean proteins, and a decrease in higher calorie foods like fatty or sugary foods, and the consumption of starches and grains that are higher in fiber. So if you have found that during that phase, you might have had a little bit more of some of the things that might hinder progress, we might want to take a look and tweak things here and there. It doesn't have to happen all overnight. In fact, it's better if we take this staged approach when you're coming off that recovery or maintenance phase. So weight loss plateaus can be very frustrating and they do take some time. So you might wonder, how long is the usual weight loss plateau? It can really vary from person to person. For some people, it takes weeks, and for others, it can be months. And so a lot of times when it does take a long time to see the weight loss again, a lot of people may lose motivation, momentum in general. And this can lead to relapses in those improvements that we sort of look for when we're trying to lose weight. So it's important to not let the plateaus get the better of you. And it's also important to take that time to focus on the other benefits that you've had during your behavior change in your weight loss journey. So some of those indicators can be equally, if not more, beneficial than just the weight loss itself. Really, when when it comes to the lifestyle side of things, what we want to also focus on are the improvements that we get in other areas of our life rather than just the number on the scale. So, when should I make changes? So, basically, it's good to consider if you might already be at your maintenance intake due to weight loss and reduced calorie needs. So, basically, are you at your settling weight? Essentially, as we decrease our calories, we do lose weight. However, sometimes we can get to a point where the calories that we once were consuming to lose weight become the actual calorie amounts that we require to maintain our weight. So, some questions to ask yourself are, how long have you been eating this way for? Has it been quite some time since you've made any dietary changes? Are there any other improvements that you can make? Do you feel like you're already at your maximum amount of changes that you could possibly make that are sustainable? So again, then we kind of go, that leads into our next question, which is, will these improvements be sustainable? So if I do make changes, are those changes going to be really sustainable? And have you seen any other benefits off scale, like we mentioned in the last slide? So some things to kind of look out for if you have experienced off-scale wins would be an improvement in cholesterol, in your blood pressure, in your blood sugar control, your mobility, pain management, digestion, energy levels, sleep, body composition, chronic illness symptoms if you have a chronic illness, your strength, perhaps you're stronger, your cardio health, or even just in your ability to perform day-to-day activities. So that leads to the big question. If you're experiencing a plateau, is this a plateau, or perhaps are you at your best weight? So things to ask yourself to kind of figure out if you're at your best weight is, have you already achieved a weight that promotes your health? So again, are you seeing those off-scale wins that indicate that you've had major improvements in your health? So might you already be at the weight that best supports your quality of life is another question to ask. Are you happy and healthy, essentially? Some ways to kind of figure out if you're at a point where you are at your best weight. Some things would be to ask yourself would be like, can you eat the foods that you like? Are you able to treat yourself in moderation? So are you able to enjoy treats that you would normally be able to enjoy, but in moderation? Are you able to do behaviors that support health? So are you able to, be active and move around and reduce your sedentary time? And are you at a point where you're able to make healthier food choices? Are you mostly meeting the Canadian recommendations for physical activity and for nutrition? You could either take a look at the physical activity guidelines, the Canadian physical activity guidelines, or you could take a look at the Canada's Food Guide to answer this question. And the final and most important question, can you find peace with your progress? Are you at a stage where you've just seen so many benefits that your progress at this point was worth it all? Like, it was worthwhile. The lifestyle side of things is going well, and you're generally feeling good about your progress. So let's go over the take homes. So there are many reasons for stalls in weight loss progress. Not all halts in weight loss progress are what we call true but all reasons are valid, definitely. Identifying the cause is really important when it comes to getting past weight loss plateaus, and can take a variety of different tools and assessment means. So just trying to use what you have to kind of figure out becomes really important. And once the cause is identified, intervening can be helpful. So regardless of a true or faux plateau, determining that cause becomes important so that we can kind of intervene on it in order to get the results that we want to see and that we are going to be happy and healthy seeing. And also what we want to do is we want to not strive for arbitrary numbers, but instead aim for our best weight. So instead of setting a target and being really rigid with that target, we want to take everything into account and figure out if we're at our best weight, in order to actually know if we should intervene on the weight loss stall, because not all not all stalls and weight loss progress need to be fixed. All right. Thank you so much for listening in on this video. If you do have any questions, feel free to email your dietitians. These are the emails to all of the dietitians. You'll see Jill's email first, then Alana, and then you'll see my email last. Do expect up to 48 hours response time. And these are my lovely references. All right. Bye.